Okay, guys, so we're back, and thanks to Bernard and Maureen for that awesome review. Um, Before I get started on the sort of art and authors unit proper, I just want to say a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to be putting up a thing on the blog today or tomorrow, explaining about the credit, no credit situation. Um, it's good. You should do it, and it's happening. You're going to be able to declare your classes credit, no credit this semester, which is something I basically my recommendation is I think you should, unless you got half your assignments, or I guess unless you got like the grade you wanted on paper one, and you feel like you can also get the grade you want on paper two, considering all the stress and misery and disaster. But if you feel like you can do it, in fact, the way I would say it is this: if you got the grade you wanted on paper one and you think you can get paper two into me early, go ahead and do the class and get a grade at the end. But if you're worried about your work this semester not being as good as it would be in normal semesters, my recommendation would be that you declare the class credit, no credit, aka pass fail. And I'll put some information in the blog about that. And if you want the grade by the end of the semester, I need to get both of your papers by the 14th of May. And if you want to do a revision on paper two, you're going to need to get it to me before then, because once it becomes May 14th, I'm going to just take all the papers and grade them and be done for the semester. So, because I have a bad. I think the week of May 14th is going to be very bad for me because basically I told all my students to get all their papers to me by May 14th. I think I'm going to have like roughly 5,000 papers to grade on May 14th. I think my email box is just going to explode with papers on May 14th. But it seemed like such an asshole thing to do, to be like, your papers, you have paper one is due on this day, paper two, no late work. That's ridiculous. Just turn it in by May 14th. So I'll be fine. I'll just sit in my pajamas for a week on the couch and do nothing but grade and gently cry and eat snacks. So okay. So anyway, you need to get your papers to me by May 14th, earlier if you want to do a revision on paper two, um, and uh, and maybe declare the class credit, no credit. And otherwise, I hope you guys are kind of holding up with all your classes and everything. I know it's crazy. Also, go through the blog. If you haven't commented on the blog, make comments. If you're having trouble making comments, there is a post about that, so you can look for that, and that may help you. If you're making comments and they're disappearing, there is a post about maybe how to fix that. Certainly, trying another device would help. Some of my students reported they can comment on their phones, but not on like a laptop or whatever. It depends on the computer settings. Um, and of course, you can comment on, if you've never commented on a blog, you can comment on older ones. There's no due date for comments. I just would love to see some comments. If I get to the end of the semester and I don't have any comments by you, I'm going to be worried. So put some comments on these things. And otherwise, I think those are sort of the main things. Go to the blog, watch the videos, comment on the videos, write your papers. There's information in the syllabus, including advice for papers, a sample paper. You might want to check that out just so you don't run into the traps. Sometimes my students will do things. Because they're basically not following the instructions. And so it's definitely when people fail or get D's on these papers, it's almost always because they didn't turn it in. But if they did turn it in, sometimes they plagiarized. Don't do that. No patience in the middle of a pandemic for plagiarists. Or they do things like they'll write a paper about Hamlet, which you're not really supposed to do for this class. Although I think one person I said it was okay to write a paper about Hamlet. But to make, I get papers occasionally that'll compare like Aristotle to Romeo and Juliet. And it's like, I didn't teach you Aristotle, and Romeo and Juliet is not a recent work of art. So why are you giving me this paper? So, just try to, follow the instructions and read what's in the syllabus. I know the syllabus is boring. Normally, I wouldn't make you read the syllabus. I would just tell you about it in person. But we're not in person anymore, and I can't go over the syllabus on the phone. That's just crazy. So anyway, that's that. So anyway, you've successfully completed 2 units in this class. You did the art and reality unit, and you did the art and authors unit. Um, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of this. These are a lot of interesting perspectives on how to look at works of art, and I think it's going pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it so far. So next up, and the final unit of the class, the first part of the class looked at the relationship between art and reality. And this, what is the relationship? These two things, are they fighting with each other? Are they copying? Is one copying the other? All these? What's the relationship between those two arenas? Next up, we looked at art and authors, which really focused on what is an author and like what are we supposed to do with the idea of an author, and like when we're talking about art, are we talking about authors or are we talking about the thing in front of us? And what is an author anyway? Um, our next unit in the class talks about art and audiences. Notice, by the way, that for your papers, I asked you guys to talk about what are the authors, imagine what the authors are trying to do with this work and what audiences get out of them. I hope you see that implicit in that is the two parts, these two units, right? The art and authors unit is about authors, and the art and audience unit is about audiences. And I ask you guys to talk about both authors and audiences in papers. So this unit is about audiences. These are some of the moves you can make when you're talking about audiences, just like the last unit was moves you can make when you're talking about authors. So I'm going to start with Adorno. Now you guys have this in the packet. It's Max Horkheimer and Theodore W. Adorno's Dialectic of the Enlightenment, which I don't know, not even fucking dealing with that goddamn title. But we're going to look at Adorno first, and just kind of take a quick zip through this thing and see what Adorno's. I just shorthanded to say Adorno, even though it's Horkheimer and Adorno, and I don't know why did I pick Adorno instead of Horkheimer, because Adorno is easier to say, and I'm lazy. So all right, let's take a look at this thing. So you have, and I emailed this to you. If you don't have it, email me. I'll email it to you. But check your email. I emailed the class this material. So let's take a look at what we have here. The art and audience packet. Max Horkheimer and Theodore Adorno's The Dialectic of Enlightenment. Okay, it's a little tough, but everything we do in this class is tough. You guys can handle it. The sociological theory that the loss of the support of objectively established religion, the dissolution of the last remnants of pre-capitalism, together with technological and social differentiation or specialization, have led to cultural chaos, is disproved every day. For culture now impresses the same stamp on everything. All right, the first sentence is not super easy, but we can handle it. So Adorno says that he says religion effectively crumbled, right? There used to be in the old days, you'd have like one big religion that was supposed to kind of unify everybody, right? The whole country was Catholic, or the whole country was Church of England, or whatever. But that's not true anymore. We now have piles of different religions all over the place, and so the culture isn't unified. Adorno also points out that people they're specialized in these very narrow areas, right? You have a guy and all he does all day is code for websites, but he doesn't know how to farm. And you have somebody who farms, but they don't know how to use the internet or whatever. So people are specialized in these different arenas, which makes it hard for them to talk to each other because they don't understand each other. And he also mentions, so he's the first sentence of this, he just points out, boy, you think that would cause chaos, wouldn't it? Like having culture where everybody understood what everyone else did for a living, which is now no longer true. I have absolutely no idea what Wall Street bros do for a living. Their entire jobs make no fucking sense. I think they just place bets, and then if they win their bets, they get piles of money, and they use that pile of money to bet again. It seems incredibly stupid thing to do with your life, but it's very confusing if you ask anybody about it. There's a bunch of jobs, I just don't even know what they are. You get these, I can't even think of the names of them. All these business guys in Wall Street, they're just assholes. So he says, boy, you'd really think that with religion, when you live in a country where not everybody has the same religion like they used to, and where everybody has such specialized jobs they don't even understand each other, you'd think that the result would be chaos. And he says, but it's not. It's not chaos. He says, actually, people are more the same now than they ever were, which is crazy because wouldn't you think people were more the same when they all practiced the same religion or they all had basically the same, 4 or 5 jobs? And he says, no. He says, you'd think getting rid of religion and people having specialization would cause society to go into chaos, but it doesn't. He says for culture, and by culture he really means art, for culture now impresses the same stamp on everything. So Adorno's point is what used to unify us was religion. That was the thing that taught everybody the same lessons. And he says religion doesn't do that anymore. There's all kinds of different religions out there, and a lot of people don't. Church attendance isn't mandatory like it used to be 400 years ago in Shakespeare's day. In Shakespeare's day, everybody had to go to church. That's why, by the way, they were so good at understanding Shakespeare plays, was because they were forced to listen to sermons all the time. That trained their ears to pay a lot of attention to words, and then they understood Shakespeare better because they had practice. So Adorno says, you think society would be chaos, but it's not, because essentially religion used to make everybody the same. Now art does that. It brainwashes you. Oh shit. See you in the next video.